Hey guys, this is the week 1 video for AP World History, and just know that I hope that all your families are safe and that you are safe, and that we're going to navigate through this together in this crazy circumstance. So just this video is to help me kind of ensure that you get the talking points out that I wanted you to get for this week, because it's so hard for me to check what you guys are learning when I can't see your beautiful faces. So the first assignment that you had was the Russian Revolution. And so what I want you to get out of that is what the revolution did for the Russian government during this time of World War I, and how those changes are going to affect their future policy. So the big result out of the Russian Revolution was that they don't have a monarchy anymore. They killed the Russian Tsar, which was the Russian king, and now they are moving into a different form of government. And this is a different kind of revolution, because instead of turning to democracy, which is what most of the world has done in the last century, they're turning to socialism and then communism. And so this also makes them an outlier. And the fact that they've done this kind of creates a confrontation with the West, because the rest of the world is looking at them saying, you know, why didn't you do what we did? Why are you choosing to be different? And they're seeing this as kind of like a hostility towards democracy in general. And so anyways, that impulse in that is that this is going to create a divide between the East and West. And so with that being said, the whole reason for the revolution was the social injustice, and it had good intentions in the beginning, with the exception of killing the Tsar. That was probably a little too far. But the whole point was to get more equality in their country and to end the reign of monarchy and have more of a equality between the social classes. Then we get into socialism, which then turns into their version of communism. And this is where the hostility between East and West kind of starts. So Putin, the current Russian president, realizes that he doesn't like this idea because of the inequality he sees in his country right now. And so he's trying to suppress that in hopes of preventing another revolution. But also, one of the questions on your discussion questions is that you guys have been asking about historical schizophrenia. And if someone is a schizophrenic, it means they have multiple personalities. And so that last discussion question is asking you, how is Russia dealing with this historical schizophrenia? Because, you know, some people want to recognize the Russian Revolution and everything that it stands for, while others are wanting to ignore it. And how does Russia deal with these multiple personalities where they want to recognize their history and they want to recognize this quest for justice, with its false claims that it did have, but and in the middle of a country that is enforcing injustice? And so how is this different personalities from in the past going to impact their future, and what's going to happen in their country? And so also comparing Russia to other countries. Has other countries had multiple personality disorders where we act one way in one century and act different in a later century? And so that's what that last question is asking you about. Then, so now Russian Revolution, that's 1917. Now we're getting to the point where the United States is going to get involved. And so how are we going to handle this as the United States? You know, we've kind of been on the sidelines. We've had a philosophy of isolationism, in the sense that this is a European fight. All of these struggles have been involving European countries. Did the United States imperialize? Think about mania, okay? M-A-N-I-A. Militarism. Did the United States build up their military? Yeah, because the rest of the world is building up theirs as well, and so it would be kind of dumb for us to not build up our military, just in case an attack was to happen. Assassination of Franz Ferdinand? We had no part in that. So, you know, that one was like, yeah, that sucks for them. But it doesn't really affect the United States. So then in nationalism, yes, the U.S. had a lot of nationalism, as you saw in the propaganda posters. We have pride in our country. We're a superpower at this point. If you remember the fact that we were at the Berlin Conference with Europe, we just didn't take part in it. So that brings us to imperialism. So we didn't participate in imperialism. Therefore, we don't have all these tensions that all these other countries have with each other, because we weren't butting heads with imperialism. We weren't trying to take over other people's land. We were chilling on the sidelines being isolationists and That is why we also chill on the sidelines of World War I, because we don't see this as our fight. We support our allies. We provide them with supplies, ammunition, which brings us to the list of reasons for getting involved that you're going to look at in just a minute. But we didn't actually, have a dog in the fight until what we're going to study today or this week. And so then the last one is alliances. Yes, we had alliances. We were allied with Great Britain, France, Italy, Russia. And we were supporting them from the side. Like, we were the cheerleader on the sideline saying, "Go team!" But not actually getting involved until we had a personal reason to. So that brings us to the list of reasons that I want to highlight. And so there's about 4 things I want you to really get out of this. 1, we were isolationists. And think about the root of that word, isolation. We wanted to stay out of it. This wasn't our fight. We were more than happy to support our allies because, 1, it was a moneymaker. We are an industrialized nation making big money off of this conflict, because while those countries are getting bombed and their factories for ammunitions and supplies was, getting destroyed, our factories were just fine. And so we had no problem shipping over, planes, aircraft carriers, ammunition, guns, weapons, materials, rations. But this is going to get us in trouble because we had smuggled weapons on the bottom of a British cargo ship. It was a passenger ship, but it also carried cargo. Its name was the Lusitania, and you'll see it referred to in President Wilson's speech and also in the list of reasons. The Lusitania, if you can think of the Titanic, it was kind of like that. It was a ship that was for leisure. It was a ship that was meant for kind of like a vacation. What the passengers didn't know is that the U.S. government and the British government had been working together, and underneath it, there was supplies for war being smuggled to England. This was a ship going from the United States to England. Well, the Germans knew about those secret supplies, and we have submarines at this point in World War I. And so they figured out the path of the Lusitania, and they torpedoed it, meaning they blew it up. And on that passenger ship was U.S. citizens, innocent U.S. citizens. And so the Germans were practicing something called unrestricted submarine warfare, which you will also see mentioned in the passages. And they bombed anything and everything that was an enemy ship. Could be a passenger ship, could be a cargo ship, could be a military ship. Didn't matter what ship it was, they were bombing it. So as part of this unrestricted submarine warfare, Germany ignored the United States' claims of neutrality because they knew that we were supplying the Allies with materials. And so when the Lusitania got torpedoed and those innocent U.S. citizens died, now the U.S. has something to say about it. Also, we had the reason of, we're going to jump in and fight for democracy. If you remember the Armenian genocide from last week, we as a superpower thought it was our duty to get involved and fight for equality and fight for justice and, assert that we were here for you. And so that's also resurfacing in the reasons to join World War I. We're fighting for democracy. We're fighting for justice. And so it's our duty to go fight. Also, people see that, we've been lending all these supplies and materials to England. We need a return on that investment. Why are we not winning the war? What's going on? And so some of the American citizens believed, if we're going to lend all this money to them, we should join in and make sure that our investment is getting a return and that all this was not for nothing. But on the flip side of that, there are people who are like, let's continue making money off them without getting our soldiers hurt. What's the harm in continuing to make a profit and continuing to lend our allies all of these materials and not put our soldiers on the ground? Is this really our fight? Yes, it was sad that those U.S. citizens died on the Lusitania, but is that really a big enough reason to get involved in this global war? And then lastly, we have been preparing for war. We have been building up our military. We have been getting ready to fight just in case. And so there are some war hawks in the country who are like, yes, it's time to fight. We've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for an excuse to jump in. And now that the Lusitania has fallen, this is our time. This is our now. So anyways, the last thing I want you to also realize is that Germany was being sneaky, and it's not specifically mentioned, but you need to know it. It's called the Zimmermann telegram, Zimmermann telegram. And so the Zimmermann telegram, Germany sends a message to Mexico encouraging them to invade the United States. Now, we know that that is a dumb decision because the United States is industrialized, one. We have remained unscathed from World War I destruction, so we don't have any weakness, really. And Mexico, compared to the United States, obviously weak. Okay, so Germany says, hey Mexico, if you invade the United States and get those states back that you used to own, New Mexico, Arizona, areas like that, Texas, we'll help you and we'll support you, because Germany was looking for a way to bring the United States into war. So we intercept that telegram before Mexico even receives it. So, joke's on Germany. And so the United States was like, Germany is inciting another country to our south to invade us for literally no reason. That was enough for war. So, when the Lusitania was sunk, that was not an immediate reaction to go to war. We sat around for a couple more years and, weighed the consequences. Is this a big enough reason to get to war? Yes, we're going to continue to supply our allies, but it wasn't just enough yet to send us over the edge. What was the fact when we intercepted that secret telegram that Germany was trying to get Mexico to invade us, and that was considered an act of war, and that is what brings us into it. And then when you have all those other factors that are on that list of reasons as well that are factored in. So the United States in general has been on the sidelines, and we have just been helping, but there are a few reasons how we get dragged in the last year in 1917. And we come in with fresh legs, if you've sports terminology. We've been sitting on the sidelines. These other countries' militaries, they're worn down, they're running out of resources, they're running out of men. And we come in all big and bad, ready to go, ready to fight with, rejuvenated forces, because we haven't been fighting for 3 years. And so this is going to lead the war to take a turn in the favor of the Allies and really end it with the Allies winning. And we'll get to that later next week about how this is going to play out in the end. But your assignment is to look over those lists of reasons for why the U.S. should get involved. Look at President Wilson's speech and then the opposition to it and complete that chart that's on Google Classroom. And then at the bottom of that chart, there's a question where you're going to pick one of those reasons off the list and determine which one was the most plausible for going to war, meaning like which one do you think was the most legit reason. So, and then also don't forget, before this you had those 3 questions with the Russian Revolution and article assignment. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please reach out to me, remind message or Gmail, and be sure that if you need any help at all, reach out. This is a different situation. I've never taught this way, and you guys haven't been students this way either. So I just hope that your families are safe. Yes, I look like a hot mess because, natural curls, but I hope that you are chilling in your house, getting your schoolwork done, and I hope that your families are safe and that your families are provided for. And if you ever need anything school or non-school related, please reach out, because you guys are my family, and you know that, and our classroom is a family. So I miss you guys already, and I miss your smiling faces, and I hope that you have a good week. So bye.